There are two examinations that you have to pass, one being the written and the second being the practical examination. Now, you must pass the written before you're eligible to take the practical examination. From my experience and several friends who have taken the written test, it is common to study for many months, long hours. I actually have heard few scenarios where people have actually gone in completely blind. They had their experience, of course, but they didn't actually crack open a textbook. They didn't take any courses. They had no prior knowledge of what the questions were going to be. They went in, first take, passed, and successfully went on to now take the practical examination. Most people that I've come across or that I have spoken to put endless hours of studying like they probably have done so since college or high school. If you've passed your written exam and you're getting ready for your practical, first and foremost, good luck. Be ready to dedicate your life to practicing. I came home from work every day and went straight to my garage and spent countless hours till 9 or 10 o'clock at night practicing what my understanding of the test was going to be. For me personally, I probably spent more time preparing for this part of the test than potentially anything or any other test in my entire life. I had the opportunity to speak with a lot of individuals who had recently taken the test and unfortunately failed. And I also have a good friend who had successfully passed the test a handful of years ago. So he was able to share his experience with me. That's probably the biggest thing and the most helpful thing for me that I would suggest for you is to try to get in touch with someone who has recent experience with the test. There's always little details that tend to change, but if you can get a general idea of the environment, the type of table you're going to be standing at, temperature in the room, for me, everything mattered. All the additional information that was provided to me was really helpful. The biggest thing that I learned prior to taking the test was the tolerance level that the proctors have for grading and hopefully passing the test. There's no tolerance for failure in any form. They don't allow for any kind of drip of solder when you're working on your copper project. They really have very, and quite possibly zero tolerance for failure, which is probably why people so commonly fail the practical test. Now, I hear many stories of people who have, they're the best plumbers and they've been in the field for 25 years and they go in no sweat, they've been soldering for 20 years and of course they're going to pass the test. This is probably the biggest misconception. What I've been told is individuals with all this experience have actually picked up really bad habits in the field, and potentially harder for those people to change those bad habits as opposed to someone who maybe has less years and is really starting to study the right way for the first time. Just because you may have 10 or 15 or 20 plus years in the field, please don't be cocky. Don't think you have it in the bag. Take the time to try to erase the board and start all over. If you passed your practical examination, congratulations again. You're now eligible to get your license. Now, please understand, if you pass, it does not mean that you're 100% going to be getting a license. It's not a sure shot. It's not easy from this point. You have a ton of paperwork and documentation to provide to the licensing board before you are even considered to be a licensee. The background investigation portion of the process will include you submitting everything that you ever could about yourself to the DOB, who will essentially underwrite you as a person and really just check that you are the person that you say you are and that you are the type of person that they want to give a license to. Assuming you have passed the background investigation, you'll receive either an email or a letter to your residence informing you that you've been approved, and you could essentially go on to the next step, which is obtaining your license card itself. Be prepared to be patient and potentially do more paperwork than you've ever had to do in your entire life. The paperwork is going to include everything as far as proving in the form of documentation who you work for. You're going to actually have to have the licensed plumber vouch for you in a written documentation. You're gonna have to prove that you're at least 51% owner of the business that you're filing under. You're gonna have to give insurance documentation. There's an endless list of information that you can actually pull from the DOB website, but please make sure you're ready to be patient. Don't get discouraged. If you actually have your appointment to go to the DOB and you're ready to submit your paperwork, be prepared for the possibility of them maybe telling you this I has not been dotted properly or this T has not been crossed. We need you to go home, fix it, and come back on another day. It actually happened to me. It felt like I was told I failed my test, which thank God I hadn't, but that was the feeling that it gave me when I went to the teller and she told me, sorry, come back again. If it does happen for you, please do not be discouraged. Now you're probably at the stage where you've submitted all of your paperwork to the DOB and you're kind of just gonna sit back and wait. Your information has been submitted to the review board, which it's my understanding they get together once a month. They review the very few applicants who have successfully passed both of the tests, and hopefully you will get the response from them that you are looking for. Now, please take note, I've heard some really unfortunate stories. Recently, people passed both tests. They submitted all the paperwork that was required. They thought that everything had looked great. And for reasons unbeknownst to them, they were unfortunately denied the opportunity to receive their license. Now, in the event that you do receive the amazing news, congratulations, you've been approved, the review board has passed your application, and you're now going to get your license. You'll probably have one or two more trips back to the Department of Buildings. You have to take a picture for your license, then you will probably have to go back to pick up your stamp and your seal. But these trips should be nothing but pleasurable. You should be happy and enjoy the process.